for the export business. Now, when we go and speak to the MSMEs throughout the country, wherever we can reach out to these people through forums like these or through our marketing initiatives, we see that 60-70% of the MSMEs are not making use of this benefit, or the banks are not telling the customer as to there are cheaper forms of credit available for you to finance your exports. And we also provide the complete guidance on foreign exchange and trade finance. Trade finance being very important part of the cost structure which the exporter or importer faces. So there the optimization is very much required. So we were formed in 2014. We have handled close to about 80,000 transactions worth about $10 billion to almost 4,000 satisfied customers. Taking forward the Digital India initiative, what we have done is earlier the foreign exchange services were very, you can say, concentrated towards the banks. So banks had the technology, banks has the technical know-how, and any per se any application or any tool available to the consumers, which are MSMEs in our case, was not there. So we came up with a mobile application which is available on both Android and Apple platform, which provides the requirement of exporters and importers to handle their transaction. They can complete their transactions up to 80% of the complete requirement. Even on the same platform, they can go and avail post-shipment finance. They can avail international finance in the form of suppliers credit or buyers credit for importers. They have research, they have live rates. Live rates will help them in terms of understanding the commissions which the banks are charging to this set of customers. So we have few case studies which speaks for itself in terms of the MSMEs. So this is a case wherein a food exporter, perishable commodity, he exports to Bangladesh, and due to huge volatility in the market, he has lost a lot of money. And at a time when he was looking to undertake transactions for the next season, he was very apprehensive as to if at all this kind of a volatility continues in the market, how will I sustain very low margin business? So we helped them in terms of setting up his hedging limits with his bank. His bank was taking a lot of time in terms of setting up the limits. We got his account opened on the NSE. We helped them in hedging the exposure, and in that particular year, his exports grew by about 200%, because now he was confident at the price at which he is costing his exports, he is able to realize a price which is better than that costed price. And we also have a customer based out of Maharashtra who is also an agro product exporter. He has a mix of domestic as well as export business. So in the domestic business, he has a turnover of about 100 crores and export is about 20 crores. So now his financing is majorly for, he was taking financing from his bank, which is a PSU bank, at around 4%. It was a foreign currency loan. But it was not towards the export business. He was taking financing for the domestic business at around 4%. Whereas we...
Sorry to interrupt you, Anandji. Request you to kindly wrap up.
Yeah, just one more minute. So we were able to reduce his financing cost from 4% to 0%. To all his 5 crore rupees of loan, he was paying virtually 0% to his bank after the intervention. And this case is from again from Maharashtra, Pune city, wherein an agricultural machinery manufacturer out of Maharashtra was receiving his remittance, and he was we were able to save 72,000 rupees on a single remittance by way of negotiating his rates, better rates with his bank. So this is how MSMEs can save a lot of money. They can add close to about, you can say, they can increase their profitability by about 20 to 40% in case they apply these fundamentals to their business. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be open to any questions and answers.
Umesh, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Anandji. For any exporter, managing forex is a big challenge. I'm sure with the kind of expertise that you built in supporting MSMEs, your clients would be really looking forward to improving the profitability through you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
I now welcome Shri Vijay Sharma to present.
Namaskar, Honorable Minister Shri Sarangi ji, respected JS Shrimati Arora ji, my eminent fellow panelists and the guests. Well, importance, contribution, opportunities, whether domestic or exports, by MSME, for MSME are well known to us. But I think we need to understand what is the as-is status. Before that, I would like to set the contextual introduction of mine. Well, I am from a $3 billion group, Jindal Stainless. I am chairman Haryana ASSOCHAM. So I am not an MSME, but today I am going to represent the MSME because I have the opportunity to interact with MSMEs in a big way on the ground, and to the extent that in last 4 weeks, I would have met physically and virtually more than 600 MSMEs on the ground. My experience is going to be based on the stainless ecosystem in the environment, wherein the supply side has got 35% of MSME and the buy side has got more than 70% of the MSME. I'm excited to see such important panelists, and I'm very hopeful that the MSMEs, what they're expecting, there will be solutions from these experts. One of the solutions has already been seen by Mr. Tandon. Thank you, Mr. Tandon. My connect with the MSMEs is whether it is downstream industry. When I say downstream industry, these are the fabricators, these are household equipment manufacturers, bartan banane wale, pipe and tube manufacturers, white goods manufacturers, and including exporters also. And believe me, they are doing good quality of exports. Primary producers, 35%. Well, stainless steel, let's not get mixed up with the steel. In terms of volume, it is just 3% of the carbon steel in India as well as in the world. But in terms of value, it is about 12 to 15% of carbon steel. Interestingly, same in India and same in the world. India, second largest manufacturer and consumer of carbon steel, and stainless steel is also. But there is a big difference. So I will be talking about the stainless steel experiences of the MSME, where they stand today, what they really need, and what we need to do for their handholding. When we use the word MSME, to me, in fact, these are three different words altogether, because the difference between the first M, the second M, and in between the S, that itself is huge. Foremost is, if I see the profile of the owner, most of us, we are professionals, we have got purchase managers, we have got marketing managers, we have got different departments, but we are talking about those people, one-man army doing everything. When I try to define the MSME in my way, it is labor intensive. It means there is an issue of skills, there is an issue of exodus, specifically pandemic. They are tiny. That means they are having an inherent disadvantage against the productivity, issues of scale. They have got technology gaps, words like ML, IR 4.0, these are perhaps gray for them. Automation solutions availability, SAP, ERP, for such small people. We all know that the first time micro is $0.75 million a year. So, I mean, it's such a small number. So, automation, technology gaps, availability of the technology for such small people, that's a challenge. Financial issues, expertise, very well said by my earlier speaker about the inexperience of how do you manage a forex. But it is much beyond that. Having no expertise to understand the schemes, having no access to the financial solutions, and in fact, the lack of the trust by the disbursing authorities, it all leads to the reluctance to avail. The mindset ऐसा बन गया है कि शायद लोन लेंगे तो धंधा खराब हो जाएगा. This is a real MSME, and unfortunately, the COVID has further aggravated the situation. Whether it is a localized lockdowns, weekly extensions, we do not know अगले हफ्ते क्या होने वाला है. Regulatory compliances specifically related with the health challenges. Of course, velocity of the cash flow stuck up in the inventory, and the gloomy morale, and recently the commodity price and price, which incidentally is not related only with the metal industry, it is related with all across the world. coming to the government support, I must applaud in a big way for the content and the intent. However, there are total estimated 6.3 crores of MSMEs, and I understand that out of them, the registered ones earlier in UM, perhaps 16%, and in Udyam, perhaps 5%. Well, the reasons could be many. GSTN number pehle tha, hata diya, and there are more statistics on the availment of the schemes which has been offered by the government. I think there are issues. There are bigger issues, and I think it's a time to swallow the bitter pill. I think that the internet world of MSME is quite different than the actual world of MSME. It's quite far away. I really do not know how many MSMEs are there in the audience here. I would have preferred to have an MSME here as a panelist who might have been a little less presentable, maybe a rustic, maybe not speaking in English. That would have shown us the real MSME. Issues to me, well, the size of the help by the government to me is not an issue at all currently because it is extremely unutilized. Then what is the issue? To me, the issue is awareness, access, and immediacy, because of which it is leading to the non-attractiveness of the schemes to the MSMEs. It is leading to the ineffective implementation, and it is also leading to the inadequate disbursement. And in the end, MSMEs upliftment is a challenge. I would like to relate this challenge with the solution with sort of basic edge computing technology, which is still in place yet to that extent. We need the solutions on the ground near to the MSME so that we are able to eliminate the transmission losses of the excess. I would like to speak my views on the way forward. I put it into three baskets. The foremost side is the policy side, the system side. No waiting for the instructions, notifications, wherever they are required. Authorizations, awareness, accountability to the first and perhaps the only window which is in front of the MSME. Big data analytics, real-time corrections based on the feedback, and of course, much higher empowerment to fintechs and BFCs and threats. Coming to the second major challenge, ease of doing business. Perhaps a single interactive app, helpline, single window linked with the big data analytics. If I key in MSME, I see so much things on the internet, I see so much apps, but I don't know where to go and to get the right sort of a loan. I get lost in the maze of so many options available. We don't need so many options. And then once we have that app, perhaps extremely mass awareness like Arogya Setu. आज हर कोई आरोग्य सेतु को लोड करता है, उसको रोज देखता है, and it has become so convenient to all of us. And then of course the ground action. Ground action means hearing, hand holding, guiding, acting, hearing again, and acting again. I am sharing this based on my own experience. We have formed a group of like-minded people involved in the stainless steel industry, along with some associations. We are having a sort of a monthly webinars wherein we are sharing the experiences of the experts. We are trying to bring in the experts from the finance, and I'm very sure we will be using the help of some of you. And for example, in the first week of July, there is going to be a loan mela in the galiye of Vasai and Bhayandar, small galas, where the people were thankful to HDFC and Tata Capital. They will be there stationed on the ground with a pre-booked appointment so that it is an organized group. Just half minute.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Just half minute. Okay. So I would recommend on the ground action the way I just gave an example of pilot projects which can be sector or geography, that means cluster based, having a task force with the center, state, and the local administration, and of course the industry is of course with them. If you talk about the sector and the cluster, I offer the stainless steel sector and the clusters of stainless steel for this task force, and of course the survival, and along with it the revival for the repurpose, diversity, and new opportunities. I think that if we showcase such immediate resolutions through the cluster and sector, it could be a good modeling. Today, MSME is really in a big pain, and ASSOCHAM platform, industry associations, we are willing to partner. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Vijay ji. It was a pleasure listening to you, and you addressed the key pain points of SMEs. I now invite Shri Ashutosh Chaddaji to make his case.
Thank you, Shri. And am I audible?
Yes, yes, of course.
Thank you, Shri. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, Madam Arora, and esteemed guests, and thank you very much to ASSOCHAM for this important discussion on the enabling MSMEs for global value chains. We all know that, as the speakers before me have also said, that small businesses are critical to the lifeblood of the economy. In India, for example, MSMEs contribute to nearly 30% of our GDP, and 50% of it are exports. And as per the Honorable Minister, the direction is to take that 50% to nearly 75% of exports by 2025, which is going to be a significant focus as far as the economy is concerned. But as we've seen during the pandemic and the lockdown, while it's forced a large population to stay at home, MSMEs have also faced the brunt of the pandemic. 73% MSMEs, as per a report, have shared a drop in orders, while 50% indicated 15% rise in inventory. There's been demand and supply erosion, non-payment of dues, and a recent survey which just came out today has also said that nearly 73% of MSMEs have not made profits in the last couple of years. What has, however, come out, and as also Vijayji was also talking about, one key solution that has helped to a certain extent, it's definitely helped individuals and citizens, has been technology. And in many ways, we can look at technology adoption can address many of the constraints and support MSMEs as well as micro enterprises, not just to recover from the pandemic, but also help grow their business. Digital infrastructure has the potential to strengthen the health of the national economy by keeping commerce running, bringing businesses into the formal economy so that they can support the government and be supported also by the government. And I will come to that point in a little bit. However, what we have also seen, as per our studies and a lot of other independent studies, that MSMEs still demonstrate lower technological adoption, which is an issue that really needs to be speedily addressed. They're also faced with immense challenges due to the current low economic activities and supply chain disruptions and credit and working capital constraints, as Vijayji also talked about. And these are really the points that we need to all work together to fix. COVID-19, as we know, has exposed the key weaknesses in global supply chains and the lack of redundancies, and hence the underdeveloped means that are of indigenous production that we have, right? However, the resulting momentum of COVID pandemic, and that's where the silver lining comes, towards building a stronger, resilient economy, more diversified supply chain, provides all of us an opportunity to actually strengthen our indigenous production in line with the Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat that the Honorable Prime Minister has talked about, as well as to grow our exports to countries and look to diversify our supplier relationships. Given this importance that the MSMEs are going to have on the economy, job creation, employment, it's not just economic sense, but in our opinion, I think so, it's a moral duty for the public and private sector to actually come together to figure out how do we make this change and how do we make this grow. I would sort of bucket the problems into three key areas as far as MSMEs is concerned. The first is getting paid in time for what they sell or what they produce. We've seen that 77% of SMEs have experienced slow payments from large corporations, and 64% of them, as per a study, have unpaid invoices longer than 60% days. That puts an immense amount of financial strain. Now, some of this payment is inherent due to the process. Some of this payment delay is also due to the lockdown and other requirements. So there is a need to find a solution to ensure there is transparency in the payment systems, in the processes, to ensure that MSMEs get paid in time. The second most important thing for their growth and resilience of the MSMEs is getting credit to enable operation and business. Getting access to working capital is consistently the most pressing need for SMEs. More than half of SMEs that apply for financing either receive less than what they want or none of it. And actually, 70% of women-owned SMEs with credit needs are underserved or not at all served at all, right? If you know, I mean, I'm sure all of us know of this figure that 90% of the Indian 397 billion credit dollar gap actually accrues because of MSMEs. And informal sources of credit account to nearly 84% of the credit supply. We need to fix that. Formal credit suppliers hesitate to provide MSMEs with loans because of the lack of credit, the credit history, etc. So these are areas where, in terms of getting credit access to MSMEs, we need to fix, and there are ways to fix that. Where we can start looking at alternatives ways of credit rating, relook at the credit rating parameters which banks have, the IRR, etc. And at the same time, figure out, can we use trade discounting, etc., those or invoicing as means by which banks can actually collaborate with other payment networks or the fintechs to provide funds to the MSMEs. There are models like this across the world, and there are models in India also. We need to actually accelerate that. The third important point from getting paid, getting credit, is getting access to both supply chains and markets. And this has become really accentuated during the pandemic. Many MSMEs actually cater to the what you would call the catchment area very closely around them. And during the pandemic, that actually was their undoing. Now, if there is a way by which MSMEs can get their supply chain fixed by getting access for supply chains across borders, state borders, city borders, municipal borders, international borders, as well as get access to markets beyond their own borders, we actually have solved a big problem, right? And hence, getting paid, getting credit, and getting access become critical areas of intervention. And to do all this, there are solutions which can be done by helping businesses or MSMEs go digital, right? Because by technology adoption, you can actually speed up payment processes. You can enable MSMEs get into the formal credit system where fintechs can come into and actually enable credit access. And at the same time, using technology, you can actually get access to supply chains across borders, across countries, as well as get access to customers. But like Vijayji was also talking about, and I was
request you to conclude. Yeah.
Going digital requires solutions which are simple, effective, easy to use, and innovative. Right? We cannot have the same tools which are applied to large-scale enterprises to small-scale enterprises. We need to follow a very simple strategy of ABC: applicable solutions, A for applicable solutions, B for benefits which will be clearly visible to the MSME, and C, those solutions need to be convenient and secure for the MSMEs so that it builds trust. I'll stop my conversation. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Chadda. I now invite Shri Abhishek Agarwal to make his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for the valuable insights, from our esteemed panelists. So while we are talking about MSME in context with different industries, I mean, I will stick myself basically to the topic of the discussion today, that how do we enable the MSMEs, for the global value chains. So what's happening, and Mr. Chadda actually brought in, some good points to the light. But what's happening eventually is that due to this pandemic, right, there are a lot of things which are happening in the background. So the impact of COVID-19 on the global economy, it has severely basically disrupted the global value chains, across all the countries. And I mean, I would say that just from the number perspective, that 2/3, I mean, these global value chains, basically they account for 2/3 or basically the 4/5, almost like 80% of the global trade. So how do we enable our SMEs, especially to get linked to these global value chains? So what has happened that this COVID pandemic not only disrupted these global value chains, but there is a very adverse impact on the demand and supply chain for MSMEs, especially in India, and that too on the very regional basis. So what's happening in lieu of that, that this is prompting a lot of global value chains led investments for relocation to the developing countries like India, because of the disruption happening all across the world. So India is actually at a spot wherein a lot of countries are looking for investment and putting their money in India. So that's like, a silver lining as to how India is being looked upon to be added to these global value chains. Just from the number perspective, most of the countries, especially in the developing world, export SMEs in developing countries account for 8% of the total manufacturing sales. So there's a lot of scope. Idea is, I mean, how do we really relate and enable our companies, our industry, especially in India, to be linked to the global value chains? Uh, so there are multiple ways, and a couple of them being brought by our esteemed panelists in the background earlier today. Uh, Technology adoption is definitely the biggest, and I would say the first methodology that we can use to go for enabling our SMEs to be added to the global value chain. We are talking about different industries here: manufacturing, be it agriculture, retail, services, and all of these are part of MSMEs. The idea is how technology can really cut through. So while there was, I would say, in the beginning, Mr. Sharma, he talked about the problems that generally these MSMEs they are facing for the technology adoption. But the reality is, if you look at the stats, and again, this is a survey done by FICCI India, that 60% of these MSMEs they have computers and the internet connection at their, at their campus. So while companies may be small or big, but they have that, ability or the infrastructure in place, at least 60 to 70% of them to be linked to the technology through computers and internet. So once we have that in place, the technology adoption becomes really, easier. While there is still a room for 30%, and our total GDP, I would say, these MSMEs, I mean, they come for almost like 50% of the exports that we are doing. But the adoption of the technology, the room for technology is still not that big right now for these companies to adopt upon. I will talk about, let's say, IoT, AI, machine learning. These are different terms that may not be applicable to all the industries, but the adoption is already there at a bigger level, especially for the companies wherein, the computer access and the internet access is there. So the path has already been open as far as the remote monitoring and control, the autonomous systems, all these things are concerned for the technology adoption. And this is basically on ground reality. And I'm not, generalizing my statement here. I'm not saying it is for everyone, but definitely for 60 to 65% of our, I would say, industry in this sector, in multiple sectors. Now, the other way is basically, the major way to link to the global value chains is through the e-commerce. While at a very broad level, Mr. Chadda and Mr. Sharma, they spoke about it. But the idea is how do we really link to the e-commerce, So, and e-commerce is the fulcrum wherein the entire money actually rotates. So India's MSME cater to the, business to consumer, basically retail sector, primarily at a domestic level, where the domestic consumer widely influences demand and supply chain management. The cross-border e-commerce has given an opportunity to the Indian MSMEs to cater to a larger market, which is close to USD $50 billion, B2B market. And basically this has given us the access to engage with the international consumers directly. Um, um, our export, basically overall export so far till December, I have the numbers. It was close to around like 350 billion US dollars between April to December 2020. And while the global, retail e-commerce is expected, the business e-commerce business is expected to reach around 4.9 trillion by the end of this year. I'm talking about January to December. So look at the gap. We are talking about 4.9 trillion of e-commerce trade, and while our overall export is close to like half a trillion. So I would say a huge gap or a huge potential. Let me put it like this: it's a huge potential that we can look for, as far as the growth of our SMEs and enabling them to really catch upon for some business from, the international market. As I was telling that 60 to 70% of the surveyed workforce across various MSMEs, they have the employed, computers and the internet connection. So that is a big boost for our industry in terms of linkage to e-commerce directly. Now, idea is that how do we leverage? I mean, what are the opportunities to leverage and in this e-commerce market and basically help our SMEs to thrive. So I was doing some analysis and it came to my attention that nearly 40%, 43% of India's exports are limited to Asia and thereafter to Europe and America. So what's happening is that while we are limited to Asia for multiple good and bad reasons, there is a big opportunity. I just talked about like $4.9 trillion of global trade for India to look for the countries beyond Asia. If you look at the hierarchy or the stacking, it's basically Asia and then basically Europe and America, while America basically brings a lot of, I would say, value in terms of the global trade for different countries in the world. So global e-commerce transactions, if we look at the numbers in the year, they hit actually, as I said, around 4.2 to 4.5 trillion dollars, which is actually a 25% year-on-year jump, in the global web sales. So idea is our linkage to internet and thereafter to the e-commerce, basically B2B or B2C models, can actually help any industry, down on ground to really thrive and make some good business, out of this linkage. Again, associating ourselves to the global value chains, the topic that we are discussing around. That means the online share of the total retail sales, it has actually crossed 20%, with e-commerce accounting for all the retail growth and gains in online sector.
Request you to please close one.
Sure. So I will basically, I will conclude, I mean, with 2 points. One is while there is a lot of adoption there in reality, I mean, and I understand some companies may not be up to the speed, but the reality is that we are actually increasing our business 20% year on year, especially for e-commerce. And there are a lot of government funded schemes. We can talk about in detail separately, but government is really pushing back in India. I mean, idea is how can we leverage those different schemes, whether it was like I would say this rupees 3 lakh crore EC LGS scheme, which is one of the key components in 20 lakh crore economic stimulus package that was announced last May during the COVID situation, or basically 20,000 crores as a subordinate debt to provide equity support to stress MSMEs. So government support is there. Idea is how can we leverage it? What is the knowledge around it? And people are really aware of that or not is again a question mark. So with that, I would like to conclude from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, and I am sure many would agree that e-commerce is going to be one of the biggest growth drivers for MSMEs, and we'll be hearing more on this, I'm sure, in future. Now I invite Shri Sudartha Mandal, the Deputy Managing Director of SIDBI, to come forth and make his presentation.
Sir, you have to unmute yourself first. Please unmute yourself.
I am unmuted. Am I not audible?
Yes, now you are audible, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you, Umesh, and good afternoon, Honorable Minister, my fellow panelists, and distinguished participants. I would like to thank ASSOCHAM for organizing this seminar on enabling the MSMEs for global value chain. As Anand mentioned at the very beginning in his opening remarks, that this seminar could not have been more timely. Coming straight to today's topic, there is an increasing importance of GVCs for the next level of growth for the SMEs. The MSME sector plays a catalytic role in making an economy innovative, vibrant, and resilient. World Bank 2020 research findings suggest that 1% increase in GVC participation can boost per capita income levels of a country by more than 1%. India's GVC integration, as measured by the GVC Participation Index, has been low at 34% as a ratio of total gross exports, relative to the ASEAN countries at 46%, which indicates that there is a lot of scope for SMEs to increasingly participate in GVC. It is in the Indian SME's interest to achieve a balance between specialization and scale by adopting a new manufacturing paradigm represented by greater skills and dependence on innovation. Global shifts in GVCs in response to COVID-19 is also expected to create opportunities for India. Since technological standards in GVC are dynamic, building and reinforcing management capabilities within MSMEs is necessary for harnessing the potential of this sector. We have already witnessed the successful experience of the automotive industry of India in GVC positioning. Indian automotive industry was a success story as it became part of major GVCs in the past. India is renowned as a global hub for frugal and scalable engineering. Busy automotive clusters across India drive this industry, especially the four major clusters of Mumbai, Pune, Nashik, Aurangabad in the west, Chennai, Bangalore, Hosur in the south, Delhi, Gurgaon, Faridabad in the north, and Jamshedpur in the east, as well as the upcoming areas like Shri City, Anandpur, and Sanand. The Government of India has also played an important role by encouraging foreign investments in the automobile sector and has allowed 100% FDI under the automatic route. OEMs like Maruti, M&M, Mahindra & Mahindra, and Tata have developed a platform or ecosystem to foster the MSMEs in the automobile sector. The recent Indian government initiatives for positioning India as a global manufacturing hub include the Production Linked Incentive or PLI scheme. The Honorable Finance Minister in her budget speech in February 2021 announced an outlay of 1.97 lakh crore for the PLI scheme in 13 identified sectors. The PLI scheme would make a major impact to the country's MSME ecosystem by creating anchor units in every sector that will need a supplier base across the entire value chain. For example, the Department of Telecommunication has earmarked 12,195 crore for its PLI scheme, with 1,000 crore set aside specifically for the MSMEs. As per the scheme, while the non-SMEs will be eligible for incentives ranging from 4 to 6% of incremental production in a year, a higher incentive of up to 7% is available for the SMEs. Also, the investment threshold for SMEs has been kept low at rupees 10 crore as against 100 crore for the large companies. Similarly, the PLI scheme for the pharmaceutical industry offers a total of 15,000 crore in incentives to the selected applicants for identified pharma products. The manufacturers of pharmaceutical goods registered in India will be grouped based on their global manufacturing revenue or GMR of pharmaceutical goods in 2019-20. In the category of applicants having GMR less than 500, a minimum 20 SMEs will be selected out of stipulated maximum 35 number of applicants in this category. And you would be reading news reports recently on many people showing interest in the pharma PLI. And the deadline is yet to expire, and we expect a lot more applications to come in. Now, to avail the benefits under the PLI scheme, the MSMEs will need to understand the sectors which have been notified, apply for benefits under PLI if eligible and if it fits with their strategic investment decisions, and track large manufacturers who are committing for investment under the PLI scheme, as there could be subcontracting opportunities for them arising there. Coming to how SMEs should prepare for this opportunity, number one, they should understand and appreciate the existing and emerging global chains. Number two, develop financial capability for global trade. Number three, invest in building capacity to work as per global standards. Take advantage of government programs like the MSME Cluster Development Program, Lean Manufacturing Competitiveness Scheme, Z Certification Scheme, which is Zero Effect Scheme, etc. Number four, build awareness on intellectual property rights to encourage creative intellectual endeavor in the economy. Number five, understand and adopt latest quality management standards and quality technology tools. And number six, improve governance framework to attract the interest of global players. Now, these are some of the key or major inputs for the MSME sector to participate in the GVC. Coming to SIDBI's role in supporting MSMEs, as you would be aware, SIDBI is the apex institution in India for the MSME sector, and its mission is to facilitate and strengthen credit flow to MSMEs and address both financial and developmental gaps in the MSME ecosystem. Very briefly, some of the initiatives for enabling SMEs to get integrated to this GVC include very affordable credit schemes for capital expansion. For example, we have a product called Smile, which is intended to take forward the Government of India's Make in India campaign and help SMEs to be a part of the global value chain. The focus is on the 25 sectors that have been identified under the Make in India program. We have other products like Speed Plus, the details of which will be available on our website. which are designed for providing up to 100% finance to existing profit-making enterprises for acquiring machinery with a very quick turnaround time. There is no requirement of immovable collateral security, and up to 25% cash collateral is placed as interest-bearing deposits with SIDBI in lieu of the promoter's contribution. There are other products like SAFE, SAFE Plus, Shwas, which is for the healthcare sector for war against the second wave of COVID, ROG, which is again for recovery and organic growth during the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by SIDBI in line with the Government of India's initiative to ramp up manufacturing of COVID-19 related products. As mentioned by the Honorable Prime Minister, it's part of the Aapada Mein Avsar campaign. Also, SIDBI is working to create sector-specific products for MSMEs in the strategic sectors of defense and aerospace to take advantage of the major drive for indigenization of defense production in the country. We will be announcing the launch of these products in due course. A lot of backup work is required to be done in the sector to come up with suitable products for SMEs to participate in these two key sectors of defense and aerospace. SIDBI has also undertaken digital initiatives for the SME ecosystem, which include online PSB loans. You would be aware that SIDBI has led a consortium of public sector banks to acquire and create the popular digital marketplace, namely the PSB loans in 59 minutes, to provide advanced technology-enabled fundraising, leveraging cutting-edge technology and analytics. Nearly 4 lakh SMEs have benefited from this platform. SIDBI again has set up RXIL, which is the TREDS platform, the first TREDS platform in India, as a joint venture between SIDBI and NSE. This platform has huge potential for ensuring timely and risk-free realization of receivables for the MSME sector. In case the factoring amendment bill gets passed, then the NBFCs will be able to onboard as financiers, thereby helping in deepening the marketplace and driving down the cost of financing on TREDS platforms. SIDBI is in the process of implementing end-to-end digitization of the entire lending activity, right from loan application through sanction to documentation and disbursement. The speakers before me have emphasized the need for technological development as well as adoption of technology by the SMEs to reduce the transaction times as well as to increase the credit flow into this sector, particularly the underserved sectors. This will not only improve the customer experience and turnaround time, but also reduce the transaction costs, as I mentioned earlier. SIDBI has undertaken a variety of digital initiatives, including setting up a debt platform, which will prove as a marketplace for the SMEs to raise debt on that platform from the non-traditional lenders, which means excluding the banks and the large NBFCs. And there are several other initiatives. In the paucity of time, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but we will be announcing many of those initiatives shortly. To sum up, India has never been in more interesting times insofar as the prospect and opportunities for MSMEs are concerned. MSMEs must seize the opportunities not only to harness the true potential, but also to take the country in its trajectory to target of $5 trillion economy. As Lee Kuan Yew had said, since the Industrial Revolution, no country has become a major economy without being an industrial power. To become an industrial powerhouse, therefore, SMEs will have to invest in technology and R&D without further delay. Integrating with GVCs will indirectly result in greater self-reliance as well as coming of age in technology in the long term, as production quality and scale will meet global demand. SIDBI would be happy to engage with like-minded organizations for developing enablers for the MSME ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mandal. SIDBI has been a big catalyst to the growth of many SMEs, and I'm sure with the new interventions and the new products that you have been talking about, we are at a stage where SMEs would be looking forward to a big growth in future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Srimati Alka Nanya Arora, Joint Secretary, Ministry of MSME, has joined us. Madam, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing your views. I, of course, will now first invite Shri Paresh Shetty, President Sales, Cloud 4C Services Limited, to present his views.
Thank you so much, Umesh. Good evening, everybody, and to the Honorable Minister and to all the distinguished panelists. Thank you so much for having me here on this forum. I got to learn so much about the MSME industry and how it is transforming. And this 2 years probably have brought in a lot of digital acceptance and acceleration. That is what has happened in MSME, and this has enabled borderless growth. I'm saying you don't limit to where you are been doing business, but probably you can grow many multiple folds because you can reach anywhere in this virtual world. Secondly, the adoption of omni-channel, just not one way of going to the market, multiple ways of going to the market. So today I will cover about the digital transformation for MSMEs, and I hope it is useful to all those who are in the panel as well as those who are attending this session. Nahid, I just wanted to check if the slides are visible.
They are.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So the points that I will cover is about the digital transformation, acceptance and acceleration that has happened in the last 2 years. All the MSMEs were going in a digital transformation journey, but this COVID has actually, forced them to accelerate. So there's a big digital shift that has happened.
Sorry,
Yes.
if you don't mind, if you can put it on the presentation
Slide mode.
Yeah, slide mode.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Is that okay?
It is not yet moved. Yeah, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, so, thanks, Sudhata. And actually, I liked the last quote that you said, and probably that was the platform for me to get this also, and how MSME should invest in the R&D and the digital part. I will also talk about cloud adoption, and the unprecedented advantages that we have compared to the current amount of money that we are spending on the IT infrastructure, that is buying your own IT, managing it, AMC, having people around it, how cloud has really changed the entire dynamics. So, as per the survey, Cisco did that almost 68% of the Indian SMBs actually seek digital transformation to introduce new products and services, and also to differentiate themselves from the competition. Proportions of SMEs indicating that COVID-19 has presented new opportunities for the business. So if you put it in two axes, if you have adopted multiple tools and you put it on the other one is the amount of opportunities, you'll clearly see more tools have you adopted and more the percentage of opportunities you have. Digitalization can help SMEs respond to challenges posted by the pandemic economy by becoming more efficient, flexible, productive, and innovative, with greater resilience and ability to take advantage of potential business opportunities in this economic recovery. Okay, so this entire survey which has shown very clearly that if you have adopted fast, you have been able to recover the lockdown pressures and the other ones. I have two examples here just to show you. You have Asadeep. It's a textile company basically having 3 crores of turnover. They used to supply to a major brand. During this lockdown, they started getting into the trade platform. They also adopted the accounting software, because of which instead of 2 or 3 manpowers, they could manage with 1 manpower. They got it into the trade. 10% of the business started moving online. And in that 10%, they started getting 20-30% growth every quarter. So, it opened up a new channel and some amount of business started coming in, which should have otherwise gone completely zero in a lockdown situation. Sai Krupa Engineering, automobile parts, basically manufactured, it's a spare part manufacturing things, having about 1.5 crores of turnover. They adopted into, a financial software called Miracle that helped them to be much more faster in terms of billing and the other part and less number of manpower. They also got themselves empaneled in 2 or 3 trade platforms, India Mart, Just Dial, and the other ones. So that helped them to scale up faster. And in fact, now they are seeing 30% of the business is coming from there. So good amount of adoption has helped them, sustain during this pandemic situation. Okay. One minute. Yeah. Okay. 4 big things which everybody has faced, not only MSME, but all the enterprises as well. Remote working. Nobody believed that, we could do business working from home. Only few IT services which we come from believe that, we could talk to customers remotely. Otherwise, everybody believed that it has to be face to face. 2 years back, probably the use of tools like Zoom, WebEx, Google Chrome, and all the other platforms was limited to only few and only for few reasons. Somebody is working abroad and they want to connect to somebody here, then that is what you do. Now this has become completely different. Everybody has started using it. Everybody has got this platform, and it has become more and more innovative. You can have multiple people talking at the same time. You can do a lot of other things because of the video conferencing that is done. You know, you also try to reach the customer using WhatsApp and the other tools. Social media adoption, you know, for business, not only socially engaging. 96% of the SMBs are using social media in their marketing strategy. B2B, we are using LinkedIn a lot. A lot of people are using Sales Navigator, Lucia tool, Rocket Signal, all these tools to reach to their customers. And not only that, they are understanding their customers a little bit more better because they can see the personas on these platforms and be able to understand what their need is. So accordingly, they can pitch it. Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram is also used for marketing and understanding their potential customers, especially B2C. So you see a lot of Facebook advertisement. In fact, a lot of customers are using this platform to advertise as well. So a lot of traditional advertisement has moved into the social media thing. So very useful thing. And most of the MSMEs should understand these platforms and see how they can utilize it to grow their business. Virtual sales. That is why I say omni-channel presence. 47% of the micro enterprises have kind of registered to one of this trade platform, be it Suleka, Just Dial, India Mart, all the other big ones also, Amazons and the others of the world. 53% of the SMEs have adopted to digital sales platform. They have also made their own website. They augmented their websites and also allowed, payment gateways to make this possible. So virtual sales is becoming the new thing. In fact, from 0% is moved to 10% to 20% to 30%, and you would see that channel becoming very, very dominant moving forward. Even when lockdown opens up, my request is don't close that channel or show less focus. Keep that on because that requires less investment, and you would have already mastered it in the last 2 years that we are in the situation in. Cloud adoption. Most of the SMEs have now started adopting cloud. They believe, and you will see the clear benefits why it is, because it's more advanced, it is more scalable, and it is only pay per use basis, so it's affordable. Okay, I also have some 2 examples. Oswald Marketing, just a 1 crore of turnover, office supplies. It kind of hindered him during the lockdown. He went into adapted online sales, went into a couple of platforms where he listed his services, and now he's able to scale from 10% to 30% of his sales during that marketing. Protect Mobiles, a retailer, just having 30 lakhs turnover. He couldn't do anything because the lockdown was complete or might be partial, so customers were not coming. So he used trade platforms, he used accounting softwares which automated his system, so easy to do the billing. So it's become very, very easy for him. So that's how things have changed, a big digital shift. And my request to most of the MSMEs who are participating here, who are the panel, kindly propagate it and start adopting it. It's easier and much more cheaper. What does the major advantages is resilience and elasticity. Okay, you can have more backups and less downtime. That's the main thing what cloud allows you to do compared to imagine you are having your own server, you got to maintain it, it's in your premise. Imagine now, how do you maintain it? Okay, and if you have to scale up, you will invest more. But what if you don't have to use it? If your business doesn't grow, then what do you do? So with cloud, it allows you to be more resilient and elastic. It is flexible and scalable. You can scale up or down on the level of traffic your website receives. Automation, your storage, the entire thing can be automated. There's a lot of things that can have your necessary securities and the other things that can help you run very, very smoothly. And all this is at a very, very affordable cost. So what happens is clearly your productivity increases. So those SMEs and MSMEs, those who have adopted cloud, they have seen 1.5 times improvement in productivity. Metrics is when they move from low medium. So first they just start using cloud, then they start putting all their application and also their core applications into cloud. So when you go from low to medium, your productivity keeps increasing. Your profitability indicators show 3x multiplier in reduction of operational expenses once SMBs move from low to medium. So if you are scaling up, if you are in the traditional one, your operating expense would have been much more. So your operating expense is less. So 3x multiplier effects. Your time to launch, you can make a product and it's easier to launch so fast. 100% improvement in terms of time to market. 96% of the SMBs or the MSMEs have positive impact on their operating expense within 2 years of high cloud usage. So once you've started using cloud and you become a high cloud usage, you will see it is showing considerable positive impact. And this remains stable with time, demonstrating that these gains are sustainable. I'll just give you, I'll end with,
If you can wind up soon.
yes, it's the last slide. So this is an example that we did. This was an e-commerce platform. They had challenges because when you're remote working, you wanted a virtual desktop. So you had a complex management and budget restriction and a security need. So we kind of did a pilot project. It's a virtual desktop provided by Microsoft is Azure desktop. We upgraded their license into a SaaS model and gave a much better security. So the result was frictionless workspace modernization. You can work from home very easily, lower TCO, 100% data security, and improved employee productivity. Thank you so much. Cloud4C is a global cloud managed service provider. We help you to in your journey to move into the cloud or adopt digital transformation. Thank you for giving this time.
Thank you, Mr. Shetty. Digital transformation not only is the need of the hour, it is something that will take you to the future. So I'm sure every company, big or small, is today in the midst of transforming themselves and using digital tools. I now welcome Srimati Alka Nagia Arora, Joint Secretary, Ministry of MSME. Madam, we are keen to know your thoughts on the subject of this event, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Balani, for inviting me to this esteemed meet, which is being organized by ASSOCHAM on the occasion of the International MSME Day. I would also like to thank and pay my respect to our Honorable Minister of State, Shri Sarangi, who is also there here in the panel as the chief guest. So I was just hearing what was being shared by Mr. Shetty about, how the MSMEs are moving on into the next phase of digitization. So here I would also like to mention that for long we have been talking about the MSMEs to becoming a part of the global value chain. And as we all know that the pandemic across the world has hit everybody in the personal capacity, losing people, our loved ones, and it has hit businesses. Also, on the other side, if we look at it, it has also brought the world to a much closer contact, when we are talking about the business avenues which it has opened. The e-commerce platforms, which were not being used so much by the MSMEs, have suddenly become the buzzword. And as I had heard earlier, when the MD from SIDBI was also talking about the new products which they have offered. So here I would like to talk about, what the ministry is thinking and what kind of discussions, because I would like to give you the perspective of the ministry, because, we have many people here, the panelists who have been talking about what is happening on the real side, what the MSMEs are doing. But I would also like to brief our panelists as well as the participants who are hearing us today that the ministry is also doing a lot of work on this. Yes, we run a scheme on the digitization of the MSMEs, and we have been trying to promote the digitization amongst the MSMEs, that they should get more and more digital, and various capacity building courses have been done. We are in talks with various associations that how we can take the MSMEs and make them adapt to the digitization. One of the successful projects which was done was that when our Honorable Minister announced the upliftment of the toy industry, the toy fair was organized where nearly 7 to 8 ministries were a part of it. And our ministry, MSME ministry, was also in one of the lead ministries, because as we all know that toys, a lot of toy in our country is being imported, whether it's coming from China. And though we have different sectors in the toy, like we have the traditional toy industry, we have the digital toys which are supported by the AI, etc., and the robotics. So here we saw that we had nearly 300 MSMEs which participated in this. So many of the SMEs had never even photographed their products. So when we have to move to the e-commerce platform, there's a lot we need to do, and that guidance has to come from us because they will reach to that level once we hold their hand and we have to guide them. So we will help them in preparing the website. The photography was done for them. Then which product is viable and which products they should be selling. Now, becoming part of the global value chain means that they really need to also work on the quality of their products, the packaging of their products. Because yes, like we know that India has jumped numbers. If the numbers which I looked at the 2019 figures, we've jumped 79 positions, and uh, so we are at a much better place, for doing ease of business. But when we talk about ease of doing business, the MSMEs need to adapt themselves, yes, to the digital world, but also the quality of the product and as well as the packaging of the product. Many a times our products are very good, but if we have to export these products, then the packaging and the way the look and the feel of the product, it becomes very important for the international market. So the platforms which we are talking about, the e-commerce platforms, they are there, and we are trying from the government side that we help the SMEs to onboard any platform. From the ministry, we have the Khadi with us, as most of you would be knowing, the KVIC. So they have started their website, and they are doing the products which are made by the Khadi and Village Industries, which has been made a B2C portal. Then we also have NSIC, our National Small Industries Corporation. They are working on a B2B portal. They have a B2B portal, and we are trying to make it as big as possible so that we can have a lot of B2B exchanges happening on that. I would also like to inform the August gathering here that in the past nearly 4-5 months during the pandemic period, I had written to nearly 150 ambassadors that we need to connect, and we realized that the SMEs or the MSMEs, if we can use that word in the international context, speak the same language, and the SMEs everywhere have been going through the tough times. So when I wrote to 150 Indian ambassadors, you'll be happy to know that most of them responded. And in the past 3 to 4 months, I have had meetings with many countries where we are trying to build we have done these G2G meetings, and we are now trying to create the B2B portals or have these B2B meetings in the areas which are mutually beneficial to both the countries. So this is the work which the ministry has started. And in fact, the International MSME Day last year and this year has not been able to provide us with that kind of platform. Otherwise, last year, we had nearly 60 countries participating in the international program, which we had done on this very day, that is tomorrow. Also, when we look at the MSMEs, if they have to take part in the global value chain, what we realize in the ministry is that mostly our MSMEs do not have the knowledge that which is the country they need to go, what is the product they should be preparing, and what is the quality, and what are the guidelines of that country that they will have to, like the legal documents. And so since last year, we are working on the global market intelligence system. If we look at the success of any of the e-commerce platforms, especially if they are helping the MSMEs to take their products to another country, the first thing they give them is the market intelligence. What is the product you need to prepare? What is the quality which is wanted? So we have been in talks with the Commerce Ministry, the DGFT, the DGCIS, and also the states. So the ministry is trying to work on a portal, and we hopefully in a year or so it should be ready, where we would be wanting all the MSMEs to get the knowledge, because knowledge is the first thing that they need to know what is the product and what type of product they should be making. And if they are wanting to go to a particular country, what are the laws of that country and how they will be doing the exporter if they want to become an exporter. The next thing we are also working on is how to give support to the first time exporter. Also, we realize that the MSMEs, most of them, they do not have the capability to get all these various the tests which they have to do if they have to compete in the international market, the quality certification, etc., etc. So the ministry is also trying to work on this, that if we are able to help them and guide them, and at the first this thing, we have opened these export facilitation centers under our DIs, which are across the country. So there, if a person goes, the office is able to guide and tell them that this is the way you are supposed to become an exporter, because many of the young generation people who have an idea, but they do not know how to take that idea to the next level. So with these thoughts, the ministry is moving on. And yes, as I heard from Mr. Shetty that he spoke about, so yes, we are also very keen that most of the MSMEs should onboard the digital platform. And most of you are aware that in the ministries now, most of the work is done on the digital medium only. There are no physical files, etc. That is one part the ministries are taking care of. Even the payments which are made are all on the digital platform. So slowly we are trying that the capacity building of the MSMEs should take place. The financial literacy should also happen, and they should also be made aware of the quality parameters, the packaging, and the world, the reality, and how to onboard the global value chain, depending on which country and which product they are working on. And also, we are working now with most of the export promotion councils, and the different associations and chambers are also working with us. And I feel and hope that together, pandemic, yes, we have all had a tough time, but there is a better world waiting for all of us, especially our MSMEs. So I wish the best for all the MSMEs, and I hope they will be able to become a very successful part of the global value chain. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Arora-ji. What you said resonated with my personal experiences. I used to go to Hanover Messe in Germany many years back, and one of the common refrain of European customers was that Indians are very hardworking, but they do not know how to present their products well. They do not package the products well. And so your market intelligence platform is certainly going to be a transformative idea. Thank you so much, ma'am. I now invite our Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of MSME, Shri Pratap Chandra Sarangi ji. Sir, you have been very supportive in past and given us very good advice whenever we've had these interactions. And today also, we are very keen to hear your words of encouragement. Sir, please.
Namaskar. Shri Umesh Valani ji, Chairman ASSOCHAM, Srimati Alka Arora ji, Joint Secretary MSME, Sudatta Mandal ji, Paresh Sethi ji, Abhishek Agarwal ji, Sushil Sarangi ji, Shri Sharma ji, Ashutosh Chadha ji, Anand Tandon ji, and all the panelists and participants in this digital platform of ASSOCHAM who are present here. I congratulate you all. I am also here to express my thanks to the for having invited me to participate in this August Assembly and discussing on enabling the MSMEs for global value chains on the occasion of the celebration of the International MSME Day, which falls on 27th of June. The UN General Assembly in its 74th plenary on 6 2017 declared 27 June as Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day. Objective of the day is to recognize the importance of MSMEs in achieving sustainable development goals and in promoting innovation, research, creativity, and sustainable work for all. The International MSME Day is being celebrated on 27 June this year under the theme to raise public awareness of contribution to sustainable development and the global economy. As it is said that knowledge is power. Without knowledge, they can't get all the benefits, the multiple benefits that is being meant for them by the government and by other agencies. Knowledge, basic knowledge of all these schemes, programs, is essential. And we know many MSMEs do not even have even registered themselves under Udyam portal. So they do not get the benefit. They are afraid of. Some have not done because of their ignorance. Others have not done because of their fear that they may be overtaxed like that. So now the basic duty of the government and agencies like ASSOCHAM and other such agencies is to create an awareness about all the schemes and build up their self-confidence. The micro, small and medium enterprises is a major contributor to the socio-economic development of the country. In India, the sector has gained significant importance due to its contribution to GDP and to the export sector. With this respect of entrepreneurship development and employment, especially in semi-urban and rural areas of India, the role of MSME is quite significant. The MSME sector was one of these hit hardest sector by the COVID-19 pandemic as supply chains across the world was disrupted. Globalization of industries happening at a very fast pace and assessing the market potential through global integration is needed for MSME, which is formidable player in the global market. In the face of current challenges, it has become imperative for MSME sector to demonstrate greater competitiveness and positioning strategically along the global value chain. Lot of trade is now happening in the form of global value chain, and it's very important for MSMEs to understand the importance of integration to the global value chain and upgrade themselves accordingly. The driving forces of the global value chains are several, including increased competition, technological progress, especially information and communication technologies, development, improvement, improved transport facilities, and available a large base of low-cost suppliers in areas of the world and experience rapid growth. The integration of MSMEs is critical for the financial viability of not only provide a low-cost way of operations, but also with their geographical reach and innovation capabilities. MSMEs form cornerstone for fostering global economic growth. However, as global value chains grow and the value addition capacity of MSMEs increase, mechanisms would have to be formed to enable those MSMEs to be able to form their own value chains without fear of competition. In the process of integration to global value chain, MSME face challenges. Therefore, efforts must be made to strengthen MSMEs to meet all those challenges in a very local method, enabling them penetration and reach globally. The Ministry of MSME has undertaken several path-breaking initiatives to modernize the MSME sector during the last year. These include putting in place financial support mechanism through UNDP funds, in which Government of India's contribution was rupees 10,000 crore and 40,000 crore was to be integrated through equity infusion from the market. Broadening definition of MSMEs, introducing IT-based champions platform to provide solution to issues of also 3 lakh crore collateral free emergency credit line loan for MSMEs was a very encouraging activities of the government, announcement of the government. Besides that, one subordinate is also declared by the government. But now the question arises, how the MSMEs will get the benefit, how these will be translated into action. The methodology is not known to many of them. Here the role of ASSOCHAM is very significant. Other organizations like you are very important. They will have to provide handholding support. Although there are many government departments and agencies to develop their entrepreneurship, to provide them required training, but it's not sufficient. Organizations like you should come up. Union budget has also doubled the allocation to micro, small, and medium enterprises to 15,700 crore in the year 21 and 22. Important as these measures are, these are still palliatives. This opportunity should be used for bold and rapid structural transformation of MSMEs to attain Atmanirbhar Bharat. There is a need to upgrade skill in tune with the call of Honorable Prime Minister Modi. Skill, reskill, and upskill. The role and potential of Indian MSMEs, along with the need to improve their efficiency, productivity, and quality, need to be viewed in the context of a globally competitive landscape. The Indian government revised the definition of MSMEs, bringing it in line with global standards, a move that will help MSMEs to scale up and generate more employment. With the government increasing opportunities for local MSMEs and reducing dependence on imports, Indian MSMEs will be able to scale up operations and can high market shares across the various sectors. Ministry of MSME, Government of India approach to growth had indeed turned towards internal strength with the slogan "Vocal for Local Product" with the global outreach. Ministry of MSME increase prices global and improve the overall business environment by making it more conducive and transparent for all stakeholders. Private sector engagement in various bottlenecks of value chain and supply chain system is critical for success of various policies announced by the government. While the government works on creating a level playing field for the Indian MSMEs, these players will have to embrace technology and focus on value addition to enhance competitiveness in the global era. The global economy is set to undergo massive changes post coronavirus shock and provides India with a lifetime opportunities to strengthen its manufacturing prowess and position itself as a critical hub in global value chains. I'm sure that today's delivery will bring issues and that is being faced by the MS in India for developing a more robust system for the growth of our economy. With the help of all the stakeholders, we can strengthen Indian MSMEs sector locally and enabling their penetration and reach globally. And for all these things, and in order to have a robust presence in the global value chain, we have to put emphasis on, unless our quality is very good, very excellent, we cannot have a good access in the global value chain. In our ancient tradition, our forefathers put much emphasis on the quality of our products. Yadeva karati sraddhaya vidya upanishada tadeva viryavattaram bhavati, they said. Whatever is done by Shraddha, by complete faith, vidya with technical knowledge, and upanishada with a penetration into the deeper dimension of the entire thing. If we do it, it will be good in quality. And the design, the packaging, the branding should be attractive, because the outer face should be more attractive, and unless we do it, our product may be very good, but if the cover is not attractive, it will not be having a very good presence in the global market. We shall have to design it, redesign it according to the global test. So we have also made MOUs with many fashion design institutions and universities for this purpose. Our Khadi institutions are preparing many good things, which is very eco-friendly, skin-friendly, but it should be also according to the global test, so that the fashion design institutions will provide us the design, and our artisans in our rural areas will prepare the article, and they will have a good market, a good value. And access to global market is another technology. We are providing many platforms for e-market access. Technology upgradation is a must. There are many MSMEs which are very sound in technology. Their number is very few, and they have access to the MSMEs which are run by a single army, and they do not have anything. They do not have a staff. They don't have marketing manager. They do not have their thing. Their fund is also limited. They cannot get access to the bank also. They do not have liquidity. So who will provide them all these facilities? So that this technology gap is to be bridged, and organizations like ASSOCHAM should come to the occasion, and their products should be cost effective. Suppose one person sold his landed property and took loan from the bank also and prepared sanitary napkin, but this sanitary napkin is not sold in the market, and he became disappointed, and in the fear of losing his integrity, he may not be able to repay the loan. He decided to commit suicide. By that time, another entrepreneur came and wanted to know the misery, the reason of the misery. Then he advised, what reason? You go to the market and find why your article is not being sold. You go to from one shop to another. Then he went and he found that other sanitary napkin of other brand is sold in a comparatively lower price. Then he wanted to know what is the reason. He saw that sanitary napkin is a small size, is thinner than his own, and the packet is 10 sanitary napkins, while his packet is having 12 sanitary napkins. So now he asked the shopkeeper that is having less number of sanitary napkin. The size is also less. He told that I only require this side of size. Oh, if this sort of size you require, this number of napkins you require, then I can prepare it in a lesser cost. Then he prepared according to the market test. But he did not study the market behavior. So he was in a loss. So now he earned profits and his business flourished. So that's why marketing expertise, marketing knowledge should be there, and the product should be eco-friendly, environment-friendly. So it should be cost-effective. Then only we can have a good access to the global market. And if we do with this marketing intelligence, with technology upgradation in a very comprehensive manner, coordinated manner, cooperative manner, if big industries provide handholding support to the small ones, and government has made provision for purchase of various commodities by the PSUs, by the government organizations from MSMEs up to 25%, and from SC/ST MSMEs run by ST/SC entrepreneurs up to 4%, and out of that 4%, women entrepreneurs will get 3% share. So if, but we have not yet reached the target. Now, if we encourage all those MSMEs belonging to different deprived sections, so that they will get due profit, they will earn a good livelihood, and our MSMEs will thrive from starting from industry, our Panchagavya industry, or fruit processing, fruit processing, herbal product processing, mushroom culture, or pharmacies, our pharma industry, our automotive industry, our textile sector. We can approach through an entrepreneur model, through cluster model, and even our fishery sector. We can march ahead with FFPOs, entrepreneur model. We can march ahead, and we can have a good export, earning a good amount of foreign currency, and thereby leading our nation to the desired goal of our Honorable Prime Minister, as well as the national goal of reaching a $5 trillion economy in a fixed time. So I think he is doing very good work, wonderful work to infuse among the entrepreneurs, infuse among the youth an idea of self-confidence, entrepreneurship, industriousness, and I expect that ASSOCHAM will be able to bring back the confidence that is lost during the COVID, and we have also recovered after the first COVID, but the second wave damaged everything. And again, we hope that there is no endless night. The night will end with the sunrise, with the bright glow of the sun, and a new India, a new future with Atmanirbhar Bharat concept is coming up. With this, I conclude. Namaste.
Namaste, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir. Your drive and enthusiasm is indeed infectious, and we all feel motivated when we hear you speak like this. And now we'll ask Shri Shishil Kumarji to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Minister Shri Pratap Chandra Sarangi ji, my colleague from ASSOCHAM, Shri Umesh Balani ji, honorable speakers and guests, Shri Anand Tandon ji, Shri Vijay Sharma ji, Shri Ashutosh Chadha ji, Shri Abhishek Agarwal ji, Shri Sudarta Mandal ji, Shri Paresh Shetty ji, Srimati Alka Nagia Arora ji. I, on behalf of National MSME Council of ASSOCHAM, thank you all for participating in today's e-conference enabling the MSMEs for global value chain on the occasion of International MSME Day and expressing all your views. I thank you all and all the guests for expressing their views and participating in this e-conference. Thank you so much. I also thanks our sponsors and partners, Cloud4C, TCI, Renew Power, SIDBI, and LIC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining this important webinar. Now we are closing the sessions and we will be in touch for final recommendations and definitely for future deliberations as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nahid, and thank you everybody else, all the panelists. I hope we'll connect again sometimes. Thanks, Sudhata.
Thank you so much.
Sure, sir. Sure.
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure,
Bye-bye.
pleasure
Take care.
connecting on.
Everyone.
Thank you, Umesh. Bye.